Caroline.
Hello.
Thank you very much for a great talk.
Thanks.
And welcome to the comfy sofa.
It's very comfortable. It's nice after having sort of the crazy stage. It's nice to be a little bit more...
The perils of the stage.
Yeah.
Now you're safe for a little bit.
Yeah.
Before you have to get off.
Yes.
But the stairs are close.
Oh, that's the stairs with the railings. Interesting.
Six exits.
Okay.
This is going to the live stream, some cameras,
Yeah.
and anyone who wants to listen in later, kind of catching up,
Yeah.
who might not have seen your talk yet.
Okay.
But so no
Yeah.
big spoilers.
Okay.
But we can touch on it a little.
Yeah.
People are in for a treat if they haven't seen it. If you did see it, great talk and a lot of actionable kind of points to go back and work upon, touch upon. If there's people who are maybe new into the tech community, or they're trying to find their voice in the tech community, is there, because you've worked inside, alongside, underneath the tech community for a long time now, are there points in your career when you made decisions that really shaped the way that your career path continued, that would be like, that was good to know in reflection, I did that and I was really proud and happy at that point?
I would say taking on more than I could chew. And every single job that I've taken, I've always started out not totally sure that I can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, well, actually, I know that I can do it. I'm just not really sure how I'm going to do it. And I think that's one of the big differences between men and women.
Yeah.
Men are often very, very competent, and women doubt their abilities sometimes. And so for me, just sort of diving head in and doing my best and knowing that they hired me for a reason. They obviously think I can do it, so I can do it. And applying for jobs that maybe were a little bit scarier than I thought.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing that's helped me, is just having faith in myself, that even though I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out, I know that I will.
Yeah. And I guess you've seen it on the reverse, kind of on the backside of the hiring process as well. People applying.
Yes.
So many great people that maybe don't feel like they're super confident, but they've got all of the skills and qualities that they need, and they can grow into that role.
And I think something that's really important there, speaking as someone who has done a lot of hiring, is that oftentimes there are people who are really, really good.
Yeah.
And we pass on them not because they're not good, but we pass on them because maybe we were further down the line with somebody else who's amazing, or maybe, you know, we knew that this actually wasn't the right job for them, that we were worried that, you know, in 6 or 7 months there's something that's better aligned to their skill set. And sort of those kinds of people, we think, oh, well, let's keep a track of them and we'll call them when that kind of job opens up.
Making that fit.
But it's really important when you do get a no from a company to know that it may not be you not being good. The reason against you, it wasn't necessarily a reason against you. It was a reason for somebody else.
I think it's a great thing to remember for your own kind of self-esteem and
it's so,
ability.
so important, because there's people who I've had to say no to. I'm just like, oh, you're so awesome, but like, you know, like this just isn't the right one.
Yeah.
So know that and have the self-confidence to keep trying and keep applying for those jobs.
Good advice. Yeah, very good advice. So in the tech community, we sit inside a lot of open source development. Yeah. But also a lot of thinking about open source and applying that thinking to lots of that industry. Is there anything, and if there is, what is it that you think is a threat at the moment to that open source community? What's the biggest threat that we face to both, either kind of the development side or the kind of framework of thinking that's there?
Rampant monetization. And I mean, there's people speaking up about this, but I don't think people are speaking up about it enough.
Okay.
That with all these new technologies, especially with open source, we can solve really big problems. Yeah. But instead, you know, while I think Push for Pizza is an awesome app, and it's amazing to have one button to press to get pizza delivered, we also, you know, have issues like water. I mean, look at the droughts happening in the United States, you know, in California. In Europe, I mean, there's huge socio-political problems. There's issues about what does democracy mean? How do we deal with issues of equality? And technology can actually help solve those things too. Yeah. Also issues around accessibility, and there's just so much that we can solve. And I think people are you know, people who are very, very smart and have the skills, it's really easy to get sidetracked and be like, oh, we can build this app and we can make $1 million.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe you can focus on something that's a little bit bigger. And I think with open source, the great thing is that anybody can get involved and they can do that on the side. And to know that you're a part of something bigger and not to only be focused on your own personal gain.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight that many people overlook when they just talk about open source and kind of the big kind of evil problems that sort of counteract it. Yeah, very, very key. As we've touched upon, you've done quite a few different jobs. You've been in a few different positions around the tech kind of industry on different kind of facing sides. You've had to learn lots and learn quickly.
Yes.
Are there skills that you learned sort of 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And when we look in more kind of within a language, things change very quickly and you have to relearn skills and they become redundant. Does the same thing, and is it happening in terms of the skills you work with generally in the tech industry? Are there things in 2 years that are going to be redundant that you've learned in the last few years?
I think because I've never been, although I was a product manager, but I've never been a technical person.
Yeah.
The skills that I'm always learning are essentially how to work better with people and how to solve problems. Yeah. So in that sense, I don't think that will ever become redundant.
They don't change dramatically.
No, people are people. People have, to quote a band.
You got all the quotes in, but now you're evened out between Gandhi and a band.
Yeah.
Back on the cool factor.
But no, I think I'm a really big fan of a liberal arts education. Yeah. Even if you want to become an engineer and you're 16 years old and thinking about where am I going to go to college, I highly recommend liberal arts if that's something that's accessible to you. Yeah. Because it's an opportunity really to learn how to think and a question to learn how to ask the right questions and how to logically balance the answers and to know the difference between correlation and causation. And those are the things that are going to serve you so well. And I think also make better engineers because, again, you learn to find different solutions to problems.
And we hear that time and time again, actually. Yeah, definitely. In Berlin, I know you're supporting and kind of part of the Geekettes organization, movement. Is there things happening inside of that organization that is going to have a great impact that maybe the wider JS community or even developer community aren't aware of yet?
Hard to say. I think that one of the most powerful things that I've seen through the Geekettes have been the hackathons. Yeah. I've been to a lot of hackathons, and usually it's like, we're going to make the fastest, the biggest, the dumbest. It's all about superlatives. And when you go at the women's hackathons, the winning hacks have always been something solving a problem. Yeah. The first one was basically creating an app so that you can communicate with 3-year-olds when they're having temper tantrums. Sounds a little complicated, but it was actually really amazing. The second one was a social network for women in business to essentially be able to support each other. And it was always something thinking about how can we actually, like, what's a problem that we're facing right now? And just by creating those spaces for more women to, number one, have a place where they can experiment and fail and not be afraid. Because if you're the only woman staying overnight at a hackathon, it's kind of a scary thing. So opening up those spaces. Number two, setting a precedent for hackathons, not just to be about goofiness and prizes, but actually about something greater than yourself. Yeah. And third, just, having a network for women. There's the thing that I forgot to talk about in my presentation.
Perfect opportunity.
Is the difference between solidarity and separatism. Okay. Yeah. I remember when I first, when I was at SoundCloud a long time ago, I'd gone to a women's conference, and afterwards an engineer said, "Isn't that kind of sexist?" And I said, "No, actually, there's separatism is not the same as solidarity. No. Having a space for women to congregate and celebrate each other is an incredibly, incredibly important thing. If you are a woman and you work in a company and you're one of the only engineers, but there's also a lot of other women who work in HR and different marketing and things like that, get together, go have breakfast together, support each other. It's incredibly, incredibly powerful.
It is. I think, one of the biggest underestimated factors actually, and misunderstandings of these type of events that do congregate lots of women in one place.
Exactly.
And what's actually going on there.
And I mean, the amazing thing about that instance when the engineer asked me, it was a man, he afterwards he said, I don't really understand feminism. And he was like, would you give a masterclass on it? And then I sat and I gave a masterclass to sort of our SoundCloud engineers about what feminism is.
Yeah.
But it was amazing, and I'm always so thankful for someone to actually be strong enough to say, I don't understand this.
Yeah,
Can you help me
that's a brave
understand
thing to
that?
do as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that one, but
No,
it's
but
something
it's
that I think is
opening that
really
subject
important
up.
for anyone who's curious about different issues of social justice.
Yeah.
It's not wrong not to know.
No.
You know, tech culture is about, you know, how much you know and how good you are at things. So taking a step back and sort of putting your ego on the side and saying, can you explain this to me, is extraordinarily powerful and a great opportunity for learning.
And usually very well received, as we
Yes.
see things like today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question.
Yes.
You have the power to change one thing
Mhm.
about the developer community.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's stick at that.
Okay.
What would that one thing be if there was, it could be a tiny thing, or it could be a huge thing. You have all the
One
power
thing about the community.
here. Yeah. Or a suggestion for it.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be a bug.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I would stop people from trolling. And no, I'm okay with comedy
Done.
trolling. Okay with comedy trolling.
Okay.
Um,
Comedy filter on.
yes, comedy filter okay. Not okay with people being harassed, stalked,
Yeah.
and abused online. So that's what I would get rid
Yeah.
of.
A huge but seemingly fairly specific thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. How hard can that be?
Be a human.
Be a human.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us. I know Rory
Yes.
is around looking for her
Somewhere.
mum probably. No,
Yeah.
she's
I
fine.
actually see her down there.
Hey Rory, she's sleeping.
Yeah. Awesome.
You weren't even missed.
Okay.
Lovely to speak to
thank
you. Live streamers, we will be back after the break. Look forward to speaking to you soon.